what we'll talk about tonight really is how to break down a job posting. So I'm going to talk about some tips that I will give you as Filipino virtual assistants looking to work with foreign clients. Now, I'm an American, so predominantly I'll talk about American clients, but it's things that are applicable across any foreign, even Filipino job that you post for. You should kind of consider these things. So I'll share with you some tips based on my experiences. Now, I have literally interviewed over 2,000 Filipino virtual assistants in the last 4 years that we've been doing Sonic VA. And so that's what my experience comes from. So just to kind of, again, get started, my name is Dan Meyer, and I am the president and founder of Sonic Virtual Assistant. Thank you for your time today. We're going to talk about how to land American clients with breaking down a job posting and nailing the interview. So again, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here tonight. We're going to talk about really four primary topics. And topic number one is understanding cultural nuances, right? So the most important thing, and I think it's one of the least understood and least appreciated things about interviewing, whether it be what you do when you see the job, you decide to apply for it, you send in your resume or you send in your portfolio, then you actually get the interview, go through the interview process, and after the interview, the follow-up. All that stuff, there's a lot of opportunities for cultural misunderstandings. And so what I want to do is highlight a few of those, especially if we're working with American clients, that will help you, that will give you an advantage over other VAs that are applying for the same jobs because you're thinking more like what Americans are looking for. Now, there's a lot in common between Filipinos and Americans, a lot, but there are a few subtle differences that I'll point out. Also, talk about how to clarify ambiguities. No job posting is perfect. Most job postings are rushed. The person posting the job is rushing. They have to get it up there and move on to their next task. Most of the job postings are fairly generic. Most of them are pretty broad-based. If anybody looks at a job posting, you're going to find some of the things in that job posting you can do. But to make sure you clarify ambiguities both in the job posting itself, as well as what you can do in that job if you were hired, how successful will you be? We'll talk about how to clarify some of those ambiguities. And then the next thing we'll talk about is how to do some research around industry specifics, right? So I'm a big proponent of owning your niche. I'll talk about that a lot. And the idea is that if you have a niche or a niche that you're really good at, say you've got experience working with real estate, say you've got experience working with small business owners who are business coaches, whatever that experience may be, you're better off trying to find more clients that have that similar kind of business and really starting to specialize. And with that, you have to understand that industry. So we'll talk about how to do some simple research that will help you in getting that job. And then number four, we'll talk about highlighting transferable skills, right? So we'll talk about what you do if you don't have a lot of experience or if your experience isn't a perfect match. How do you still apply for it with confidence? And how do you come across in the application process and the interview as the right person for that job? We'll talk about those things as well. And then we'll talk about a few other things throughout the presentation towards the end, and then we'll have a Q&A. So that's our talk for tonight. Hopefully it's helpful. Let's go ahead and dive into topic number one. So understanding cultural nuances, right? So here, you have to recognize how different cultures express requirements, expectations, and job descriptions. And I say especially Americans, because as I walk through a job description, which we'll do a little bit later, we'll actually walk through a couple of job descriptions on Online Jobs PH as part of this webinar tonight. But you want to look for cultural expressions that may make sure you understand what it means, right? And make sure you understand that culture. Again, I recognize that a lot of Filipino VAs, especially new ones, are basically going to look for any job they can find. And I get it. You want to pay the bills. And as you're kind of learning what you're good at and you're getting better and better at being a VA, you'll start focusing on certain areas. Now, this could be your skills, right? You know, what you do. It could also be who you work with. And I think the more you specialize, the more you'll find that you have a better time as a VA. You enjoy it more. It's less toxic for you and you get paid more. So there's a kind of like a golden rule when it comes to being a VA. If the client's successful, then you're successful. If the client's not successful, then you're probably going to be looking for a new client soon, right? So if you have to invest in their success as a virtual assistant. So knowing that you have that right match in culture between you and your work style and what you want to be able to accomplish and what they're looking for in a VA and their work style, what they want to accomplish having you work for them. If that's a good match, then it's going to be a successful partnership and you'll help them grow their business. If it's not a good match, if it's a cultural, it doesn't fit, then it's more likely that they're going to like lose patience with you. You're going to get frustrated, it'll get toxic, and then before you know it, you're having to find more clients again. And so we want to avoid that because finding clients is extremely hard. It is the hardest thing for Filipino virtual assistants to do, is to find good clients. Some people will say it's the hardest thing to find any client, but let alone a good client. Understanding cultural nuances really, really is important. So take the time to familiarize yourself with common terminology, communication styles used by clients from various countries. You can do this by following, a news website or an entertainment blog or a sports, team, or use something that's popular. Now, again, it's easy for Filipinos to follow American stuff because a lot of it is here in the Philippines. It's easy to access things like the NBA or understanding American brands, understanding American influencers, like everyone knows or probably knows, like, the big deal yesterday was Oppenheimer won the Best Picture award, right? So knowing topics like that will help you stay relevant when it comes to conversations with a client. And you can do a good job without ever talking to the client, but to do a great job and to be successful and to maintain that long-term relationship, you're going to have some interaction with a client. And the more that you have that kind of cultural understanding with them, the better it will be. You can also include understanding different idiomatic expressions like tone and formality levels between you and the client based on that job posting. Sometimes you may see an expression you don't quite get. Like Americans use a lot of expressions that refer to baseball. It's not a sport not very popular here in the Philippines, or football. American football is not very popular, right? So when people say like, I'm looking for somebody that's a real go-getter that can hit a touchdown, that can hit a home run or score a touchdown for me. If you don't know what that is, then Google it, right? What does it mean to say, I want you to score a touchdown for me? Or what does it mean if the job posting says, I'm looking for a home run hitter? Make sure you kind of get a sense for that, right? So that, again, if it comes up in the interview, you're not saying, oh, I don't know, or it goes over your head. And then the job posting, if they're saying you're looking for somebody who can score a touchdown for them, they want someone who will really make a big difference, right? Someone who have an impact, someone who can be a game changer. If they say they're looking for someone to hit a home run for them, it's the same thing, right? So it means they really want somebody who's going to hit the ground running and be a go-getter and get out there and really try to take the initiative. They're not looking for somebody who's just going to wait to be assigned tasks. They're going to look for that initiative, that somebody who's, going to ask questions and be fairly assertive if they say things like, I'm looking for a home run hitter or a touchdown. So understanding these kind of expressions are important. And you'll see those in job postings. And again, I talk about Americans, right? Because I'm American, but the same thing can be true. If you like working for Australians, especially because the time zone is closer to the Philippines, if you like working for British people or Canadians or anybody from Europe, you can find their websites, you can find their cultural things and kind of get an affinity for it and then specialize, right? It's better to be a VA who knows the ins and outs of how to do graphic design for American small business clients. And you'll find more work if you specialize in that niche, believe it or not, than you would if you were just a general VA. You can work for anybody and you have a client from Israel, a client from Finland, a client from United States, and a client from Australia. You'll be working in 4 different time zones with 4 different cultures, and it may work for you, but for most people, it will not. When you specialize, it helps you be more successful. So understanding cultural nuances was the first point I wanted to make for you. The second is most job postings are pretty ambiguous and they don't have a lot of detail. I'm guilty of this. When I write job postings, I try to think about what the Filipino VA will look at that job posting and say, I want this job, and make it enticing to apply. And, you see a lot of job postings, and I've seen job postings, for years since I was, I got my first job when I was 15. So I've been working a long time. And I've applied for a lot of jobs over the years. And so I know job postings pretty well, and I can see a good job posting and a bad job posting and kind of recognize it as what it is right away. Maybe you can't, right? Maybe you're new to this, especially looking for a VA job. So you want to get a good idea of what's a good job posting and what's not. One way to do that is to ask questions. Don't hesitate to reach out to the client for clarification if something is unclear. If there's some kind of cultural nuance that they're not that it isn't clear to you and you Googled it and it doesn't make any sense, ask. It's better to ask. And if you ask a question, you'll stand out because nobody does. I mentioned that I've interviewed over 2,000 Filipino virtual assistants in the last couple of years, right? That means I've interviewed like 500 a year. And I just interviewed three today and like three yesterday, and it adds up pretty fast, right? So I interview a lot of people, and none of them ask questions. When they do, it's usually like, well, I have a question about this or about this. And they're always good questions. Maybe, one out of three will ask a good question, and the other two don't really ask any question. So right there, if you want to stand out, you want to be in the top third of people that I'll remember, that I'll consider, ask a question. And if you really want to stand out, ask a question before the interview, because nobody does that. If you have a question about the job posting, if it's ambiguous or you're not sure what they mean with a certain saying, or there's some kind of details that aren't clear, just ask and they'll be impressed. They'll be like, wow, this person actually wanted to make a difference. And asking targeted questions can help you better understand the client's needs and expectations, ensuring that you can tailor the application or the work that you do for them accordingly. So when you go to that interview, you know kind of like a little bit more about them. And you're going to be able to, again, stand out, right? So let me do the math for you. So if we do a job posting, which I'll show you in a bit on Online Jobs PH, when we do a job posting, we usually get 100 to 200 applicants pretty quickly in the first couple of days, and sometimes in the first couple of hours. And based on the type of account we have on Online Jobs PH, we get capped at 200 applicants per job posting. And after that, it stops taking applications. So if you figure we start with 200 or even 100, and you figure, of those 100, my HR person will go through and they'll screen out half, because it's a mismatch between what the job is posted for and what the resume or the application says the person can do. Like, we're looking for a video editor and they're talking about being a copywriter, and there's just nothing on their resume that says video editing. So we're going to, swipe left on them. That'll happen with about half of them. And then, there's just a mismatch, right? And then the other half that we get, then we'll go through those and we'll look and see, did they follow all our directions in the job posting? Did they send us the resume link? Did they give us an idea of what it is that they can do for us? Are they just cutting and pasting something generic? And if they're doing that, then we probably won't make it to the next round, which would be the actual screening interview. And maybe we interview 15 to 20 of the 100 to 200 people. And of those 15 to 20 that we interview, we'll be looking for, do they have, quality English, not perfect English, but good enough for a conversation with an American client? Are they on time? Are they able to articulate their skills? Does it look like that the resume matches the person? So the HR person will go through and screen for that kind of stuff. And then out of all that, we will offer an assessment. And then most people don't do the assessment. Maybe half will do an assessment. Most people just want a job without having to do an assessment first, which I understand. You want a job now and you don't want to waste your time doing something you're not getting paid for. And, there's pros and cons to it. Bottom line for us, though, is that if you do the assessment, again, we can weed down to just the ones that are serious about working with us. And we get to a point where we start with that 200 applicants and we're down to like 10 finalists. And then I interview usually the top 5 of those finalists and start there. Maybe sometimes I'll do all 10. But the idea is that, if you want to be one of those 10, which means you're like the top 5 to 10% of the applicants we get, you have to stand out. Now, I tell you that, the math, because I want you to make sure that you really see how important it is to ask questions, because the people that get to me are the ones that have probably asked a question. And the ones that get through me that end up getting the job are definitely ones that are asking questions. That's just something I wanted to really point out, right? So ask a simple question about the job posting to clarify something. Have a question ready when you do the interview, and you'll be much more successful. All right, number 3, research industry specifics, right? So depending on the type of work being offered, it can be beneficial to research the industry specific to the job. Now, I mentioned that a lot of Filipino VAs that are successful, the ones that you see on Facebook saying, I make a 6-figure income and I'm living the life, and you see them post their pictures, they went to Singapore, they saw Taylor Swift, how the heck did they afford that? How do they have that lifestyle? Well, they're probably not a general VA making entry-level rate. They're probably a specialist who's built up a business over time that allows them to charge a higher rate and has the flexibility to be able to pick and choose who they work with. Those are kind of unicorns, right? So you see one And you see them on Facebook, and I know several. But for every one of those, there are tens of thousands of Filipino VAs who are wishing they had that success. And really, the difference maker between the ones that get to go see Taylor Swift in Singapore and the ones that are here trying to figure out how they can barely pay their internet bill are the ones that are very good in their industry, right? They're either really good at their job, and they just lean into that skill set. They're a great graphic designer and they just keep getting better and better at making graphics. And they specialize in a certain niche. They do graphics for real estate agents. They help them to do, like explainer videos and showcases. They help them do graphics for their newsletter. They help them do graphics for their website and their social media. They're making, templates for their IG posts. They're doing things in that niche. So they can not just work for one client as a real estate agent, but everybody that real estate agent knows who are other real estate agents, they can refer to you. And that's how you get to be able to go see Taylor Swift in Singapore, by building a business as a VA where you're able to kind of like corner the market. Now, if you think about any business person that's going to hire a virtual assistant, they're probably surrounded themselves with people that have similar interests and similar kinds of businesses. Real estate agents hang out with real estate agents. Insurance agents hang out with insurance agents. Business coaches hang out with business coaches. So if you impress one client, they're likely to lead you to other clients. One of the secrets that makes Sonic VA so successful and why we've been successful for several years now is that we have a couple influencers that were two of our earliest clients. And we did such a great job editing their videos that they now refer people to us almost daily. And we get to a point where we actually are constantly trying to find new video editors to keep up with demand. And it's a good problem to have because we don't have to worry about marketing anymore. All of our marketing is done by referrals. But you get there by being so good at what you do that people start, saying, hey, go check out this thing. So one of my influencers, she has this coaching group on Facebook with a couple 100,000 followers. And she just told them all, hey, if you want a video edited for your business or you need help with your branding, go talk to my friend Dan and he'll help you out. That's like worth its weight in gold. You get there by being so good at what you do, by researching the industry and knowing it inside and out, right? This includes understanding common practices, tools, and terminology used in that field. So if you're a VA who works and specializes with women who sell supplements, health and beauty and wellness supplements, and you get really good at that, then you're going to see ideas that work for one you can offer and suggest to another. Again, if the client's successful, you'll be successful. Now, most people, when they become a virtual assistant, they don't think like this. They think, I want to make some money, I want to do some graphics, I want to do some social media management, and I'll get paid, and then good, that's it. Those are not the ones that are going to Singapore. Those are the ones that are always looking for clients. So if you want to be one that ends up, again, going to Singapore, you have to own your niche, right? And it's the ones who stand out who get the job. Being well informed about industry trends and standards can help you better position yourself as a suitable candidate and perform more effectively if hired, right? So being well informed is what stands out. If you go to an interview, and even if you haven't ever been a real estate VA, if you've done some research on it, you Googled it, you watched a couple YouTube videos, and if you want to learn something, YouTube's got it all, right? There is nothing that you can't learn from going and finding an expert talking about it on YouTube. So basically, the ones that stand out get the job. The ones that do a little bit of research are the ones that end up, being able to have that ticket to go see Taylor. Number 4, highlight transferable skills. Many job postings specify certain qualifications or experiences. Focus on your transferable skills. It's going to be almost impossible to have the perfect match, just kind of randomly. Like, so someone randomly posts a job posting and you randomly come across it and it's like, wow, it's perfect. You're the exact VA they're looking for. That does happen every once in a while, but there's things you can do to make sure it's more likely to happen. And one of them is to focus on your transferable skills. When you look at a job posting and you see it has certain requirements that you have not done, but you've done similar things, you focus on those. Focus on the highlights of your relevant skills and experiences that align with the job requirements, even if they're not an exact match. I'll give you the most important piece of advice I can give you, especially if you're a newbie VA. If you're new to being a virtual assistant, you're going to come from a place where I have this question a lot. People ask me, I'm a new VA. I don't have any experience. And I'm like, don't ever say that. Take that words out of your vocabulary. If you tell somebody, a client, that you don't have experience, they're not going to want to hire you. Because think about this. They are going and posting a job for a virtual assistant because they need help, because they're struggling to grow their business on their own, because they've got to a point where they're too busy and they can't focus on what they need to do to be successful. They're too bogged down in making their own graphics for social media. It takes too much of their time to edit their own videos. They're spending too much time managing their own social media. And they know to be successful, they have to find somebody else that they can share that duty with, they can assign or delegate that task to. And to be that person, you have to be somebody who says, I have that skill. I can take away that pain for you. I can help you solve that problem. I can be the solution you're looking for. And if you look at it like that when you see a job posting and you identify the things that you can do that will make their life better, that's how you're successful, right? So a lot of us, again, especially new VAs, I don't have experience. I'll take any job I can get because I want to get experience. I get it. We were all there once, right? Some of us are there right now. But over time, you're going to find that as you get better at doing certain things, you lean into them. You become stronger and stronger in certain areas. VAs that are general VAs that can do a little bit of everything. There's really two types. There's the average general VA who will do anything for anybody, who makes $4 an hour or probably less, maybe 200 pesos, which is not a bad salary for a Filipino, but you have to be working full time to make 30,000 pesos a month. And 30,000 pesos a month is kind of the average salary of a call center agent, and you get benefits and you have a regular job. So if you're looking to have a standard, significantly, what do you call it, a lifestyle that's consistent and that's safe, a VA, starting out as a VA is not that. Starting out as a VA, you're going to struggle to be able to consistently make enough money to pay you 30,000 pesos a month. But once you get past that and you're able to get good at certain things, you can charge more, right? So VAs that have experience and that are able to do really good graphic design or really social media can charge, $6, $7, $8 an hour. And the ones that are really good can charge 10 plus. And the really, really good ones, the ones that are going to see Taylor Swift, they're probably charging 10 plus an hour. That's kind of what you have to expect. So when you look at a job posting, you look at the skills that they're requiring, you ask yourself, do I have these? And if you do, great. If you don't, what skills do you have that are transferable? And if you don't feel that you have any of the skills that are required, then don't apply for the job. It's a mismatch. It won't be a win-win, that's for sure. And you want to have a story ready to demonstrate this. You want to emphasize your adaptability because everyone says they're adaptable. You want to emphasize that you're willing to learn because everybody says they're willing to learn. You want to emphasize your ability to quickly grasp new concepts, which are valuable traits for any virtual assistant working with diverse clients. You want to make sure that you say more than just say that. Because most people say that, tell me about yourself. And the VA will say, well, my name is Dan and I'm XYZ from the XYZ country and I'm this age and I'm married and I have all this. They'll give me their bio, right? And then they'll tell me that they're adaptable and they're hardworking and they're willing to learn. And all these things they told me, none of them make me feel like, okay, you're the right one for me because you sound like everybody else. How do I know you're going to be any better than the person I just interviewed or the one I'll interview next if we're all saying the same things? What sets you apart is your story. Why are you becoming a VA? Are you supporting your family? Are you putting your sister through school? Are you taking care of your elderly parents? What is it that makes you motivated? Mention that. And then talk about how that you have a passion and interest in helping business owners be more successful. That will get you noticed. Don't just say that you're adaptable and willing to learn. Show examples of when you did that. Maybe you don't have experience as a VA, but you all had experience doing something. You volunteer in your community, you volunteer in your church, you worked on assignments in school, projects that you had to deliver, deadlines you had to meet. You probably had some kind of work experience before, right? Maybe it's not online for foreign clients, but even if it's working at Jollibee or SM, you've got experience that shows that you show up for work every day and that you follow directions and you're able to communicate with customers. Whatever it is, have that story ready to tell. Because if you have a story you're going to tell about your transferable skills, you're going to stand out and they're going to go, this is the person I'm looking for. Everyone says they can do it, but you're the only one that I believe because I feel it. And it's all about that emotional connection, right? You want the client to feel like they're making the choice that will save their business because they're hiring you because they're struggling. And they want to grow their business. They want to be successful. They didn't become an entrepreneur because they want to fail. They became an entrepreneur because they have dreams of getting rich. And if you pick the right clients and you do the things that clients need to be successful, then that's how you get rich too as a VA.